Now we will discuss the autonomic nervous system. What is autonomic nervous system? It is the motor division of peripheral nervous system that controls the body activities automatically. Like we can't control our internal visual organs by our hand by ourselves. So the functions which are performed automatically like digestion, respiration, excretion and all these systems which are working inside our body, that is the autonomic nervous system, controlled by the autonomic nervous system. Now what is composition? Which uh, things make up the which components make up the autonomic nervous system? So there are neurons, which are the specialized group of neurons that regulate the cardiac muscles, smooth muscles, wall of visceral organs, and the glands. Now, next point will be the important points, yeah, important factors of the autonomic nervous system. So, first of all, it is the homeostasis. Homeostasis is maintenance of concentration, relative concentrations. So, contribution to homeostasis will be like it controls the body internal environment depending largely on the autonomic nervous system. It is the stability of internal environment relative to the external one. Like we have discussed here, the visceral organs send signals to CNS, which activates the autonomic nervous system and controls the body activities. Now, next point is that flight and fight response, that it helps in the emergency conditions in case of flight and fight response. Next point is that it also helps in the increasing respiratory functions. Okay, now there are examples of the autonomic nervous system. What are example like blood pressure, blood flow, stomach secretions, pupil dilation and constriction? These all are the involuntary nervous system. What is the factor that is mediating this action of the autonomic nervous system are the neurotransmitters and receptor at the effector site. Now there is totally another part of the topic that will be comparison between the somatic and autonomic nervous system. Now were generally discussing what is autonomic nervous system and what are the contributions, important factors, examples. Now we will discuss what is the difference between the two parts of the peripheral nervous system, that is somatic and autonomic nervous system. So we will consider this as the CNS or one major side, because we are saying that it is a motor division. So motor will be carrying from CNS to the effector site. These will be the effector sites. So from the motor, CNS or spinal cord, one nerve carrying the effect at the effector site will be somatic fiber. But in case of autonomic nervous system, their nerve fiber is divided into two parts by a ganglion, postganglion, that is presynaptic neuron and the postsynaptic neuron. So major difference of both the fibers will be that it has one neuron and it has the two neurons. It has the which type of receptors are they? Because we have discussed that it is mediated by neurotransmitters and the receptor at effector site. So receptor at effector site will be nicotinic 2 receptors in case of somatic ones, and in case of sympathetic and parasympathetic they are adrenergic and muscarinic receptors. These are the receptors. And what is the neurotransmitter? Neurotransmitter is acetylcholine and norepinephrine in both the cases. We will discuss later on. Now this was the major and prominent difference between them. Now we will discuss between the types of, because autonomic is further divided into the sympathetic and parasympathetic, so we will discuss them in detail. What is sympathetic and what is parasympathetic? These both are controlled not by our will. Matlab, will is not included that I want to do this so this will happen. No, it has to happen depending upon our body conditions, yeah, internal environment changings to maintain the homeostasis. So what is that? Sympathetic means it is the nerves which are arising from the T1 to L2 part, that will be called as thoracolumbar outflow, whereas parasympathetic will be known as craniosacral, means cranial nerves 7, 9 and 10, which are known as, we have already discussed that it will, their names are also known was trigeminal, vagus, glossopharyngeal, and several nerves like sacral, S2, S3 and S4. So they are known as craniosacral in case of parasympathetic and thoracolumbar in case of sympathetic. Now what is the next difference of the both? They have both have preganglionic and postganglionic parts. One nerve is divided into preganglionic and postganglionic neurons, but what is the difference? That in case of sympathetic the preganglionic is shorter, and in case of parasympathetic preganglionic is longer and shorter differences are there. And what is the next third difference? That in between the ganglion the acetylcholine is released, that is uh, cholinergic neurotransmitter, and here to pump the effector, adrenergic neurotransmitter is released, that is norepinephrine. Means here is cholinergic, here is adrenergic neurotransmitter in case of sympathetic. But in case of parasympathetic, here is cholinergic acetylcholine, and here as well is cholinergic, which is pumping the smooth muscles. So both are cholinergic in case of parasympathetic, and sympathetic are cholinergic and adrenergic. So this is the major difference between both types. Okay, now next is that we will discuss these both types in differences form. Like we have already discussed that it is thoracolumbar and it is craniosacral and which type of neurons, but now we will discuss a little bit detail of organs innervated, matlab which parts are including these nerves. Like T1 is controlling head, T2 is neck, T3 to 6 is thorax, T7 to 11 is abdomen, T12 to L2 is legs and lower limbs, whereas special nerve fibers, adrenal medulla, and the skeletal muscles. And on the other hand, in case of parasympathetic, it is known as craniosacral. So craniosacral, we have third, 7, 9 and 10. You know which organs are in control. Oculomotor is totally of eye muscles, pupillary, ciliary, radial, trigeminal, facial, lacrimal, submandibular. Glossopharyngeal is throat, parotid gland. Vagus is heart, muscle, lung, pancreas, ureter. S2 and S3 is bladder, rectum, lower ureter, penis, and colon. So these are the organs. You have to cram these things, but cram according to your concept, not just learn and remove these. You must know oculomotor nerve. We have discussed them in detail in first lecture. Now next type of receptors that are activated by the sympathetic nervous system are adrenoreceptors, and here it is cholinereceptors. What is the difference between both of them? Let us see. That adrenoreceptors are in the form of alpha 1 to beta 1 2 3 and M1 muscarinic and the nicotinic. based on these receptors are released, or these receptors are basically controlled by the postganglionic release of the neurotransmitters. It is not depending upon the preganglionic, it is depending on postganglionic. Now we will discuss that how they are released. Alpha 1 is controlling the smooth muscles calcium release, which we have discussed the pathway as well in G protein receptors. GQ will release the calcium in influx, a flux of from the endoplasmic reticulum. Now alpha 2 is enhancing preganglionic nerves, platelets, and the lipocytes, decrease cyclic AMP. Decrease cyclic AMP. What is the cyclic AMP? Second messenger. Decrease cyclic AMP. Beta 1 heart brain cholinergic nerve. Increase cyclic AMP. Beta 2 is smooth muscle, and beta 3 is lipocytes. All beta will be having the increased cyclic AMP. On the other hand, we are having the Cholinereceptors in M1 we will having CNS postganglionic sympathetic neuron, calcium efflux, M2 smooth muscle and cardiac muscle, M3 exocrine vessel glands. In both the cases in M1 and M3 there will be calcium efflux, but in M2 there is opening of the potassium channel. Or nicotinic receptors will be of two types, N1 and N2. N1 is preganglionic sites and the postganglionic sites, in which there will be the depolarization. What is depolarization? When there is opening of the sodium and potassium pumps, when the action potential is generated. And in N2 skeletal muscles will be pumped, where it will lead to action will be depolarization. Okay, now we are discussing the action of these receptors specifically on the specified organs, that which organ will perform which action and which type of receptors is stimulated. So we are seeing the two tables, long tables. We have to cram and we have to understand these tables as well. So first of all, in sympathetic, we see first of all I have the two muscles, radial and circular, both of them contract. But in case of radial, which will be stimulated? Alpha, and which will stimulated in circular? Beta. In heart, SA node and atria is there. In both the cases, the atria SA node will be accelerated, increased blood flow, and both the cases which will be stimulated beta 2. Lungs is the bronchial muscles, they will relax and beta 2 will be released, activated. Blood vessels will be of two types, skin and splenic will contract alpha, and skeletal muscles will be relaxing, whereas beta 2. GIT have the two things, walls and sphincter. Walls will relax, beta 2, sphincter will contract alpha. Now, urinogenital tracts. So, wall, sphincter, uterus and penis. Walls will relax, beta 2, sphincter will contract, alpha. Uterus will relax, beta, and penis will erect, alpha. मेटाबॉलिक पाथवे लिवर में दो चीज़ें आ जाती हैं, ग्लूकोन एजेंट्स एंड ग्लूकोजिनोलिसिस, बोथ में बीटा 2 एंड अल्फा विल बी स्टिमुलेटेड. किडनी रेनिन रिलीज बीटा 1 एंड लिपोसाइट्स लिपोलिसिस बीटा 3. वेर एज ऑटोनॉमिक नर्वस सिस्टम में अब कौन सा गैंग्लिया एक्टिवेट होगा? पैरासिम्पैथेटिक, एंड रिडक्शन इन द एसिटाइल कोलिन कोइनर्जिक, एंड beta will be alpha will be stimulated. Now on the other hand, we are having the parasympathetic table organs. Eye, circular and ciliary contraction, M3. Now here we are having alpha, and here we are having muscarinic only, not nicotinic. So I will be contracting M3, heart will be declaration and contraction in M2, lungs are bronchial smooth muscle contraction M3, blood vessels endothelium release of EDRF, whereas M3, GIT walls and sphincter contraction and relaxation M3, whereas there will be secretin stimulation and the metric plexus formation, that will be contraction, and M1 genital tract, that will be wall sphincter and penis contraction relaxation and erection, that will be M3 and M will be the erection of penis. Now autonomic nervous system is sympathetic ganglia reduction in any release, and M will be stimulated. So we are seeing the difference, that in case of sympathetic, parasympathetic ganglia is stimulated, and in case of parasympathetic, sympathetic ganglia is stimulated, and both are working action is a reduction in the neurotransmitter release. So this whole was our autonomic nervous system in detail.